well, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going
I'd
to be
say,
just
yeah,
fine.
Normally that'd run you off.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think the most difficult decision, because I think a lot of teachers, you get dumped on that first year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
You get all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
You get random bits of schedules.
And if you say yes, coming back that second year, I mean, you've kind of committed to, I'm going to play this out for a little bit.
Yeah. Don't you think it takes about 3 years to get settled in? Maybe 4, depending on the school.
Yeah. Some of the best advice I got from an older teacher, especially when I started AP, was this idea that you got to give yourself at least 3 or 4 years to figure out what is and isn't working, right? Because it might have been that class, it might have been that day, it might have been that assignment, it might have been that year. And of course, being the, an overly ambitious, narcissistic person I am, at the beginning I was like, oh no, that's not for me. I'll get it in a year or two, right?
Right.
But, I think that's some of the best advice in terms of that is it really, because there's so many, I think people don't realize there's so many so many moving pieces to a classroom and just the decision fatigue that occurs that people don't realize. And when you're an experienced teacher, a lot of that sort of comes and flows. But when you're
it gets
newer,
automated after a while, right?
But when you're newer, you second guess yourself, you second guess every single of the 50 million decisions you make. And a lot of times it's out of a desire to do well, but it's still a lot. So
it's that rhythm piece.
Yeah.
Being able to be in sync, have a rhythm, know what to expect, even when there's going to be those unexpected events, decisions that arise. But yeah, it's 3 to 4 years is probably pretty safe. Of course, mine was, my first 3 to 4 years, I'm trying to build a resume to be a head coach of, whatever. Basketball ends up being volleyball. And so that's kind of my rhythm. And then the next 5 years is the rhythm of how do I grow this? How do I maintain this? How do I strengthen myself and deepen, my passions, interests, and help with the kids in coaching.
Okay.
And this isn't even the classroom.
Right.
So then you add the classroom piece, and I don't want to say it's an afterthought, but was always kind of the mindset, when I took my first real head coaching job, left the district I kind of started in, took a head coaching job in a new district. My mindset was, if they let me go, they're not going to let me go because I didn't do a good job in the classroom. They're going to let me go because something went wrong between the lines of, the court. And while I felt like that was a safe and probably accurate mindset at the time, it's a terrible mindset,
Well, it's a terrible mindset if you want to be a good teacher.
But that goes back to that idea of, you want to be a good teacher, you can be a good coach. They're not mutually exclusive of one another. You can be a good coach and be a good teacher. You can be a good,
I challenge that only because the intent can be there. Like, you can want to, but if you're a basketball coach and it gets to be February and you're short on sleep, the
play button looks really good.
Yeah. you're wanting to find that video just so that you can, like you said, decision fatigue. You've made decisions from 7:30 until 10 o'clock at night, and you need to shut it off, but you can't because you have to go right back again the next day. So the intent is to balance them both and be good at both. Is really hard, especially if you're a head coach, right?
I would agree, and I would actually probably further validate that statement by saying I see myself as a stronger teacher now than I was 9 years ago when I stepped away from being a head coach.
Sure.
See myself as a stronger teacher than what I was 3 or 4 years ago when I was coaching, just in any capacity, right? And part of it's time, part of it's interest, part of it's that rhythm, part of it's honestly, the two guys, sitting on either side of you. When people ask me who the best 2 teachers or best 3 teachers at Jenks are, that kind of shifts based on what the kid's looking for, but I do let them know the smartest 2 are these 2 guys. So, you're sitting with 2 PhDs here. So
yeah, and I want to clarify that for people that are watching. So Mr. McCrackin, Justin McCrackin, you just finished your PhD in what?
I got my education curriculum PhD.
Okay.
So it's in education, specialization, and curriculum.
And you've been teaching for how long?
16 and a half years. I came in January. I took over for a teacher who on his retirement day walked out the door and never came back.
And you were finishing up your student teaching.
I actually never did student teaching.
You just jumped in.
I got a master's degree in education, but I didn't do it. I was more the theoretical side instead of actually in the classroom. So I never did student teaching. I came straight into the classroom for the first time when I got the job. And I quit school a semester early, and instead of going thesis route, I went non-thesis just so I could graduate and take the job.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I came in the semester after that and moved next door to you.
Correct.
And so, Blake, you have a PhD. I didn't know that until Kody said it.
Yeah.
But what is your PhD in?
So mine is in British literature from the University of Tulsa.
Okay. That's pretty niche, right?
Yeah, well,
you must have a love for that.
I do, and I think that for the classes that I teach, I think that if an AP class is set up to be run like a college class, or should be in theory, then having the same credentials you would have to teach that at the university level should be more than an afterthought.
Right.
Also for me, I went the alternative certification route, and so I did not do student teaching either.
So
and
where did you come from then?
Oh, that's a long story. So my undergraduate degree is from Oklahoma Baptist University in English literature and religion.
Okay.
And I felt called at certain points to the clergy. I felt called to be a college professor. And so when I left OBU to do my master's, I was fortunate enough to head back east and get a great fellowship to do my master's work at Princeton. And your master's work was in? So I have one master's in divinity with emphasis in women's studies, and I have a second master's in theology and literary theory. So if you couldn't tell from the bow tie, I'm a super nerd. And then you add on top of that the PhD in British literature, and forget about it. No, because there's